Good evening, folks. Welcome to another old session from the Wise Asylum. Bedlam in La La Land. What else can you say if you've been following all the nonsense that's going on out there at the minute? It's just dementia. And people, are they sucking it up? I mean, I've got to be honest. Up here in North, nobody gives a shit. It's just life's carrying on. You're not seeing anybody excited. It's just like, oh, what? What's going on here? And the media is so trying to set you up, aren't they? Oh, you're on the masses side. Oh, you're with Mossad. You've got to be on one side, haven't you? It's like, and these protests that are going on, excellent, by the way, all of you. I'm quite sure they're actually protesting against war and killing kids and, civilians. The very thing that we're being scrapped about from the 7th about, what they've done to us, yet. Just have a little look at what actually has come out now about that first day. The majority of people that were killed in Israel were combatants. So they were either soldiers or they were police. So there's a lot of old nonsense. And yet they're still pushing it out there. Beheaded this, beheaded that. I mean, okay, so that way, look, it's stupid, isn't it? Let's be honest. You can't pick a side. If you pick a side, you're as demented as the infants in the playpen. That's how I look at this. As a grown-up. I just look at it and I think, okay, these are the infants in the playpen with toys. And here we go. The clashing, off we go. And then you're giving it, well, we did this person, you did that, and It's like, okay, but, if you think about it, what is the lesson? If we're in the time of the apocalypse and we're about to see the second dose launched, we're in a time of revelation. It's all there to say to you, wake up, awaken from your slumber. The first dose, you can't trust the media, you can't trust politicians, you can't trust the meds, you can't trust the purveyors of them, you can't trust celebrities. If you were waking up and you were seeing that, okay, the first dose told you, you can't trust everything or anything that you held high trust for all your life, because you're still assuming that the high trust that was England is still in play. Well, it hasn't been in play since, let's say, you could say the last 200 years, but definitely so after the 2 world wars. But the baby boomers were pushed a programme, but they took it on. So that's on them, okay? We all get programmes shoved down our neck, but we don't have to take it on. If we take it on, it's down to us, isn't it? So, they've continued to believe in this system, and though you can trust everything about it, it's working for you, it's working for your benefit, it's looking after your offspring, it's keeping the nation together. It hasn't been like that, but people have failed to recognise that we're no longer in an I trust society. We are still amongst ourselves trying to exist in that I trust. It gets more and more difficult because more and more people are not. They're out for the self, they're always trying to deceive you to get something going on, because the low trust ideology seems to be creeping in everywhere and it's infecting everything. So that is the major problem, and this time of revelation is wake up, awaken First horse, you can't trust anything that you thought you could trust in the system, because it's not the system operating anymore, it's the corporations, which of course is the military. Yeah, this is how the military occupation divides itself up and intermingles itself, private-public partnership. You know, that's what the game is. And so we've been under occupation for a long time. That's what's moving all this stuff. You're stuck on person. You're stuck on name. It's got you. It's in there, and it's utilising the assets of the public assets, which of course means you. So that malarkey is going on in the background while they've got you focused to this Bedlam in the old La land there. A new Bedlam, not the old Bedlam, the Ukraine, a new Bedlam, the fire starter area. You know, it's like, what are we seeing here? What's the lesson? Let's say, okay, so we're entering into the second horse, okay, which removes peace from the earth. Well, they're doing a frigging good job of it down there in La land, let's be honest, are they not? They're doing a damn good job at removing peace from the earth. You've got, you know, certain quarters of these. Now you can see why they've imported all these loony boon immigrants that are thick as pig shit, but they're operating for the gig, probably through G4S circle kind of side. That's the sideline they're going to be coming in on, and they'll get a call. Right, you need to be out at such and such a time. Cause havoc. Yeah, because generally here on Blighty, we've learned not to cause havoc. We've learned that protest is so that you don't have to cause havoc. That's what it's for. So if you're going on a protest to kicking off, that's not really a protest. You're just expressing your own character traits, which are pretty shit. No, protest is there in a civilized nation so that you can get your will seen. You've got other options. You've got petitions. You've got that you can sign off. 100 more, they have to sit it in Parliament. There's also this. That's what civilization is. It's the means to which you can exert your will without having to resort to violence. That's what civility is. Collapsing, it is because of these immigrants. You've seen them all on the protest, but that's not the bigger protest. These are just the fringe. And then you've got the media in there. You've got the police playing a game there with it as well. So you'll get some English flags coming up, and all of a sudden, for some reason, you're not allowed to have an English flag on England. Well, actually, they've been playing that one for quite some time. Which is quite ridiculous that the English have actually gone, oh, okay. It's like, kiss my ass, have you? Well, that's because the military can tell you what to do because they have got access and utilisation of the public assets. Excuse me. So while you still operating on the name as person, you are going to be administered by military through the corporate side of things, you know. And the government is actually just a system set up to administer the declaration of bankruptcy, but it went into administration. That's where we're at. But look what's happening with the media, how they're setting these little gigs up. You've got Tommy Robinson running around giving it, I told you so, it's like, grow up, son. You know what I mean? No, all you did were shows that you were a Zionist, that you hate everything against Islam. That's what you've done. You've not actually come across and give it some proper debate, and because you've not actually studied the stuff. You know, there's a difference between Islam Quran and Islamist Talmudic Hadith Sirah mix. That's what's going down. But you know, if you're gonna try and try and create a standpoint of peace that everybody can say, oh, okay, we have a shared interest in that ideology or that idea. You're not going to get it if all you're doing is expressing each other's negatives. You've got to find a common ground. And of course, that's what I'm always trying to do. Of course, you can look at everything and anything and go, oh my God, because it's in everything, isn't it? The extremity side of it, the fanatical side of things. It is that way. And now we can see down there in Bedlam, the land of the fire starters, which is not a new strategy. You know, the fact, just think back to what they did to Ireland. All of a sudden, Prussians had got in and they decided, what can we do to Ireland? I know, let's shove a shitload of Scottish Protestants onto island of Ireland. And then we had, what, hell for God knows how long. So it works, doesn't it, to shove a particular, completely different, isolated group into its perceived opposition. It's going to cause nothing but uproar. Because it's about the land, isn't it? It's all, I've got my land, I've got my land, blah, 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 blah. This is my land. Well, is it? We've nicked it. So it might take maybe centuries before it gets accepted. Oh, it's your land. Because this is the problem that I think the second horse is trying to give us. And that is what we're seeing in not only Ukraine, but what we've seen in Levant. Because let's call it the Levant, because that's what it was called. Then it was called Palestine. Okay? We only have opinions as to whether it were ever once back in the way time and day called Israel. We don't know. We have to, if you read some certain stuff, it'll tell you that that's what's what. But we explored that last year, did we not? We didn't say we had the facts of it, but the archaeological evidence did not support the timeline that you get from the biblical. It didn't support it at all. And so we explored it. Still come out thinking, well, could be that, could be this, could be that, or whatever. You can't fix it, can you? Because none of us were there, and none of us have a clue. Not even your granddad were there. So he doesn't know neither. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's where we are. We're such a far distance away from that. Yet, we're still playing out the same narrative, the same gig, or portions of our societies are they not? But, anyway. So, this is what I see as would be something interesting to consider, because I think this is the big lesson. And that is, what we're seeing playing out in the Levant is the game that was started, 1,000 years ago, just over, when one bunch called Islam decided to invade the Levant. So we're dealing with the consequences of invasion. So what's the lesson? So it's basically saying, well, if you decide you want to invade somebody else's land, not land that's vacant, but if you are going to think in terms of, well, they live on there, but we don't care because we want it. And if we don't kill everybody, whatever's left will make our slaves. Then I think you're moving against spiritual law. Right? You're moving against the essence of what it means to be man. And so the universe is going to have to show you that error, isn't it? Or mistake, as we're into. We're way past error. We're into mistakes. So I look at what we're seeing now, and it's just the consequence. We're looking into a picture show called "This is what happens when you invade other people and nick their land." So it started just over 1,000 years ago. Islam decided we're having that, run in and nicked it. Oh, everybody got excited. Crusades were on. So off they went, hoity-toity, in they went. They did battle, they did all sorts of nonsense, they nicked it back. But then, of course, it carried on for a few centuries until eventually they had another hoo-ha. But a deal was done. A deal was done in which the Muslims were allowed to keep that area. So there were a deal done. Saladin and Richard did a deal. Okay, that's a secret society deal, by the way. It's a knightly order did. Yeah, it's that kind of gig. They got to stay, our lot come out to back, and then set to destroying their own landmass, Europe, basically, because of the wars between Western and Eastern Rome. So all that were going on. Meanwhile, everything's cushy over here. But then all of a sudden, out pops another group, and they say, well, hang on a minute, we want to nick that now. It's our turn. We want it back. Okay, we want it back because we've read this book here, and it says, it's fucking yours, that, mate. You're my dad, my fucking granddad. We're digging that hole there. That's yours. Get it back. Nick it. But of course, they couldn't really do that on their own. They needed other nations to jump in and get on with that. So they had to change things slightly. They had to change the religions of these other groups that they needed, mainly the Christians, basically. They needed the Christians to go, oh, what a good idea. You go and nick it now. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. But that wasn't what was going to happen, was it? Because when they did, the Zionists actually went there, the result, to meet Pope Pius X and say, will you bless us nicking Palestine? And he went, No, we can't do that. We have absolutely no problem with anybody visiting it, but we really can't support or bless anybody going in there wholesale and nicking it. So they got refuted. That caused them a problem. They had to then rally the Protestants, because the Protestants hated the Catholic Church anyway, so they had that bit of ammunition. Well, they said it's shit, so it must be good. You must need to do it, because the Church says you can't. And remember, because we're all stupid and still in the playpen, if your enemy says you can't do it, then you have to do it. Never thinking, well, oh, it could be a plan and a ploy. But no. Off they went, Schofield Bible. Completely and utterly annihilated the old school biblical tradition, so that it were more in sync with this. Well, we must have this. We must nick this place. Because God said, we have to nick it. We have to take it back, because we're not actually nicking it. It's actually ours. Yet, they had to do a big military gig. They had to torture their own, kill the Brits. And so it were a big gig. It weren't an easy, like, just, well, God said. Well, if God said, it weren't really set right for God to have ordained it, because they were a lot of trouble. It caused havoc. So that happened. All sorts of countries got involved. This schism they created on the old religious side of it thing just grew and grew and grew, until you get Pence, Trump, Prince, you know what I mean? All these senators now that we seem to see in America pushing up this uber right-wing malarkey. You've got Jordan Peterson. I mean, I did say to you, didn't I? He's a tosser. I did try to communicate with him a few times on the old Twitter, just asking him a simple question that you'd expect a man of that rhetorical sort of talent to be happy to do so. Wouldn't take me on at all, because of course they're alright. So they couldn't take me on. I knew they were Zionists. Same with that little shitbag that tortures and attacks students, spotty students that don't even know what time it is, because they're still on the acid they took from Saturday. But they bully them, they win, it looks good. It looks good. Zionists are up, boom, we love it. Now, let's just make something clear. Zionism isn't a religion, and it isn't a race. What it is a political movement that incorporates biblical traditions. It includes Talmudic traditions, okay? So it's not a religion, and it's not a race. It is a political movement in the same manner as we have right and left. The politics, all bets are off. You can say what you need to say about each and everything, because that's the battle. It's a political battle, so you don't have to go onto the battlefield and start firing pea shooters at each other. That's the idea. But of course, it's got wrapped up into something completely different, because of course the so-called once used to be Christians have sucked it up and now believe, like the priesthood that runs it, that they are superior, they're going to be raptured. Ruptured is probably more of a correct term, because that's definitely coming. Raptured, I very much doubt it, because, you know, if you look at the man, everything that you hold dear is in complete contradiction to what the man said. So you're certainly not operating in any way, shape or form to that theology. And that's a fact of life. So what I think we're seeing here and just witnessing, which is why you shouldn't, even for a second, allow 1 ounce of your sympathy, empathy, money, energy to feed it. It's the infants in the playpen. It's two sides of males and females who decided, let's hate and let's do everything that hate encompasses, but let's still have children. So basically you're looking at soldiers, male and female, that's been going on for 70 years, who decided we're in a war zone, but anyway, never mind, let's just keep having children. But then blaming the world, it's everybody else's fault, because these two combatant nations and mindsets have held this hatred and anger against each other for 70 years. Plus, that's how I'm looking at it. Because that is the lesson. This is how you want to play invasion. This is until you come to some proper peace agreement. You're always going to be playing this game. It's always going to raise itself up, and away you go. So that's how I'm looking at it. Pick a side, you must be joking. How could you possibly pick a side? I mean, because just not even with that, I've studied all the terrorist organisations, who's funding them, how they funded them, all of them. So I know where it's all coming from. So it's impossible for me to take a side. But obviously for some people out there it's quite difficult when you're looking and watching all these images that are coming up everywhere. A lot of them doctored, as we looked last week, propaganda, mistruth, because it's aiming to excite your prejudices and your passions. Well, it's certainly doing that, is it not? But let's be quite honest, in this phase of what's taking place, it's pretty clear. What happened? One guy stood up in front of the world and said, this is what we're going to do, and presented a map that showed absolutely non-existent anymore a place that actually did live there. That pissed people off. Now, for me, probably the most ridiculous thing that they could have done, Hamas, was attack Israel. But of course, we've all seen it doesn't. Things are not correct, right? It would have set up. Just like Pearl Harbor would have set up. Just like 9/11 would have set up. Because every time they do these setups, it traumatises the world. And then they pump out these official stories, these official narratives that they want to take on and hold as fact. So that you don't look outside of that paradigm, and you certainly won't believe anything if it comes from somebody who's not sucking in to that paradigm. So it's a good gig, but of course, to be in that gig, you've got to be pretty, you're not a full shilling, basically. You're bordering fruit bat tackle. So we've had one horse. If you didn't wake up yet to the fact you can't trust these systems that we set up, and we set up by our ancestors anymore because they've been co-opted by the military-industrial complex, then shit, I feel sorry for you. It's sad times for you, because they're going to try it again, aren't they? Because, of course, everything they did in the last 3 years is going to start showing itself now, or so they think. They have to put up a cover. You've got the secret fruitcakes on Carrot Cake Mountain in the background, organising the future, i.e. giving the UN, or one of its operations, full control if such nonsense is called down. Again, you can see in the background they're playing it slowly. Australia, they're playing it. They've mentioned something here about this hemorrhaging thing going down. They're going to try. You really mustn't you must just go, yeah, laugh at it. Like you would if you come out on your street before all this happened and somebody was shouting outside, everybody get in your houses, you got it. And you don't just go, shut up, son, go, shut up, the kids are asleep. Yeah. You wouldn't believe him, would you, just because somebody says it? Surely you've learned now that just because they say it in the box, like I am here now talking to you in a little box, chatting on, doesn't mean to say if I say jump in fire, you're going to jump in fire, are you? No, you're not. But when it's done in that paradigm of belief, at those people that believe, well, triggers, done it, and off you go. So you can see the game this week. I can see it trying the best to manipulate two sides. And you can't be just protesting the war. If you're protesting the war, you're Hamas. That's what they're pushing out. It's quite ridiculous. You've got the fringe of the Muslims playing right into the game by showing themselves to be nothing but racist, degenerate pricks, which Islam calls kafir. Now you've got to keep that in mind, because if we're going to find that peaceful foundation, we have to understand that fringe that talk shit, that are throwing punches at the police, that are attacking English lads who are stupid enough to be coming out with flags, because obviously it's a set-up. You're the fringe, you're the kafir, and you know what your book says about you and what has to be done with you. Same with the fringe you're going to get here, where they're coming up like that. This is your EDL geezers. This is your fruit bats that have been following Tommy Robinson. You're getting half a tail, guys. You're not getting the full story. All these systems were set up in a manner that could give you peace. And in the Quran, it's very clear that when Muslims are in other countries, they have to obey the laws of the nation, not contract law that's coming through their initial invitation to another country by the empire, because that's who they contracted to and has been for the whole time they've been coming here, and it's still the same today, isn't obeying the laws of the nation. So you're in contradiction of your own book, just at that setup. Theft, unless you're at war, you're not allowed to be thieving, are you? But your societies have been built on thievery. you've robbed our system blind. Yeah. These are points of reality. They're not what the map forgets and hides from itself because it's on a little mission. But if you're going to come back to sound and sane debate and action, then first of all you have to get the background in order. You've got to get the territory. What is the territory? And that's basically it. All this stuff that's being excited and triggered is the fringe of whichever organisation, group, theology that's out there. It's the fringe now that's being triggered because the media, politicians, military industrial complex is agitating through the propaganda to excite the passions and the prejudices. And that is exactly what's going on. So if you're at home getting excited and cross when you see these images, you really need to know that what's going on there is what's already in your heart is what's getting excited. That's it. You need to cleanse that. That's where your battle is, not out there in La La Land. However, all things are going to change just because we have these chit-chats on a Sunday? Probably not. But, you've got to take the battle as it's your battle with your extremities. If you're going to be letting your extremities run riot in your experience, then you're going to be triggered, which means you're going to be governed by the extreme that's out there in the big bad world. Are you not? Yeah, take away that control and power and ability for these fringe things to actually affect you, and you're keeping yourself in a state of peace. If you're in a state of peace, you're thinking correctly. If you're thinking correctly, the chances are your actions are going to bear good fruits. If you sat there shitting yourself, you're going to be at the mercy of the triggers. Are you not? Because even I'm watching, I've watched all week. I thought, right, let's have a right good look at what's going on everywhere. And let's read between the lines. And you can see clearly the propaganda being played on all the scripts that are naturally going on. And it's quite ridiculous that if people are sucking it up, they're not protesting because they support Hamas, they're protesting to stop the massacre and mass murder of civilians that's been going on since the 7th. Okay? Yeah, blame game, we're not playing the blame game. We're not on the side game. We're seeing it as it is. The playpen, all of a sudden, the consequences of a game called Invasion and Kill and Enslave has once again raised its nasty little actions, and away they go. Don't become it. Don't let yourself fall to that level. Because it's not going to serve any of us very well, is it? So, who have we got in here tonight? June says, good evening, June. Slipknot. Alright, Sean, alright, everyone, good evening. Trev. Disciple of the Messiah says, peace and grace, Brother Sean and family lands there. Same to you, sir. Mew says, good evening, afternoon, good evening to you. Paul says, good evening, Sean and fellow inmates of the Old Wise Asylum. Well, good evening to you, Paul. Guitar Girl, good evening, everyone. Hello, Guitar Girl. Trees, matey. Oh, you're not before the sleep, Tree? Good girl. How you doing, Chuck? FFF, made it early for a change. Well, we're going to have a little look at what's going on in your Aggie Squeeze. You've got a right fruit bat going on up there. I mean, I've been badgering him all week on his little tweeter, crying his eyeballs out about how he's, they're not safe. I don't know. Oh, why are you not over there, you little prick, with money you've got and power? You're political, you've got diplomatic immunity. You'd think you'd be over there rescuing your kin. But no, what does he do instead? Well, he decides to make a speech, which we'll have a look at in a minute, and you can decide whether that's more in tune with some of these fact-checking requirements that goes on the old Faceache and all the other shitbag platforms that are doing nothing but censoring. So, Jay says, good day, Jace. And I'll have a look at you guys as well. Morning, Jace. Blah, blah, blah. It's a movie. It certainly is. Just don't become an actor. Do not become an actor in the movie. It's a shit movie. It's and it's going to get shitter. Just don't get involved in it. Don't let it take your mind to it. Watch them. If there's dicks kicking it, watch them. If they're hurting folk, get stuck in. But, do not let your mind get pulled into this one side or another. Because they're both off the tits. Evil. Simple as. So if you're going to join one side or another, there where you're at, you're playing with that stuff. That's not going to end well, is it? Wayne says, evening everyone, good evening to you, Wayne. Jace says, hope you are going well there, Moo. Okay, Tree says, the only side I'm on is my backside. Not falling for the divide and conquer, but it really is atrocious. Atrocious, think me there, darling. What's happening out there? Mind you know you're Scottish, so it might be atrocious. You may be. Oh, we're Scottish, were it? Anyway, never mind. So I'll not do impersonations tonight, because it doesn't like it doing right well. Cycle number 6 says, always good to see you, Jace. And you. House of CCC says, hello, good evening to you. Tree says, they were playing for playbook, playing out the script, the blueprint, which is the Bible. It's a blueprint, it's a plan, a map, and they've been building it for a very long time, in my opinion, of course. Move hits, okay, yeah. Untitled says, tonight a greeting in the common sounds of the language. Lee God Mail, Wien de Kroon and okay, okay. So your Untitled's turned into a foreigner. Okay, not a problem. But I'm sure the sentiments are good. Jay says, personally, a lot has clicked for me lately. Well, good for you, me old China. Good. Untitled says, me, I like your sharing of certain videos from other YouTubers. I believe we both have a similar consciousness, I think that is any chance to have a meeting of consciousness contact Sean and he will arrange the meeting. Well, yeah, we can do that. We can always have some little Zoom shindigs if you want to have a chit to chat. Because I've been very busy, as you know, looking into this reversion side of things, and my word. You see, the good thing is, it's like, we've done a full year now, a full year intense study on everything. Back from beginning, getting the bits in that we needed. And so we've gone through so much data to the point that we know what's relevant and we know what we don't actually need to be concerning ourselves with. And then all of a sudden along comes a set of videos and bang. Everything I've done in the last 12 months allowed me to understand this one particular thing like that. With simplicity, no questions, no nothing, we're there. We're there. So, my God, it's good news all around on that score. Mew says that me also got, okay, you, what? Me. Oh, you're talking to somebody, are you? Okay. I also got a notification, I'll watch tomorrow. What? I'm missing something there, never mind. PY Music EDM says, even all, good evening Paul, how you doing, me old China? Janine Matos, good evening, beautiful souls. Good evening to you, Janine. Space Orbison says they are psychopaths. They most certainly are, sir. Absolutely insidious. And you've got to cut off from it, because you get the government you deserve. The government has been amassed for quite a long time. The government in Israel has been like that since its conception. There has to be enough of a mindset amongst the population to keep that as it is, in the same way we've had the governments we've deserved in this last 3 years, because we've become benign in and in that time the military, through the corporations, has took over control through the public-private partnerships. The military has got access to the public assets. That's our system, our state, but more importantly, the assets includes your person. You are at their whim and willing to do whatever they need and feel needs to be done. So this military gig is closing in across the world. We have to be ready. And this is why they brought in all these young immigrant soldiers for the United Nations. Because they're expecting to turn the countries into concentration camps. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? All the systems are set up. Everything now, bug script, has moved into statutes. So that's the governing principle now as they move it into this no-hide system. Which means they're thieving your estates, they're taking it away so that you won't have access to it. You'll become uncontractable, you will become slave. You're serf at the moment, but slave's the next one. You can't contract. Now then. They are psychopaths. These double-crossing, and a naughty word, behind this game will be double-crossed, my opinion, I guess. Oh, it doesn't go as it's being planned. I've looked at a lot of... I mean, I've studied the theologies of this for a long time. Talmud, Zohar, Hadiths, the Sirah, it's all Talmud. It's the battle that's going on it's because of the Talmudic doctrines. That's why they hate each other so much, because they're battling for who has control of the Talmudic side of it, because it means they get slaves, they get power, and God said. Well, that word, that is the problem. In the beginning was the word, and then they spread it, and it's a trap. We've been trapped, and we've been in bondage ever since. I put that on my face. Oh, faceache, I've gone a bit berserk at the moment, because I pointed out the fact that because of the block vote that the mosques promote amongst the Muslim communities, which I was told by the Muslim communities, so I'm not making it up, we got New Labour, we got Tony Blair, we got Gordon Brown, we got all the wars. Facebook doesn't like that. It's violent and aggressive, apparently. So Facebook can kiss my ass. And I really don't see myself being on there very much longer, to be quite honest. And I will be setting up a forum. So that everybody can come on and you can say what you think. You know what I'm saying? You can say exactly as you... Because it will be a private forum. And if people want to use it, they'll have to join it. It's as simple as that. Because that way then, you will be controlling and censoring yourselves by not being stupid and ridiculously insane. But you'll be able to speak as you see. You'll be able to put information as you know is going on, and other people can use it, read it, share it, and that's the way to go. It's going to have to go back to forums, like I said before, exactly how it was when I got on the internet. The best data you got were on forums, because there were smart people on there, and once you set up a piece, a theme, everybody would pull in and bring in what they know. Search, seek, find, and pull in more, and before you knew it, you had these forums had threads with so much data on, it was ridiculous. Now I've noticed there's a lot of forums that I used to, one in particular, has cleaned itself up to the point that it's pointless. So I don't know why they're doing that. Obviously they want to stay active. So anyway, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, these platforms like Facebook, they're not going to be worth staying on any longer, because they're only going to be gathering information off you. They're not actually going to be giving you any benefit whatsoever. Like when it first came out, it was a free-for-all. You could pretty much sell what you wanted. See, Bojo's joining GB News. Yeah, because now, you see, I mean, it's coming out, isn't it, about what was going on during all that book script stuff. You've got Mike Hancock shitting himself now because he can see that he's going to be liable. So Boris has moved here in order that he can rebut all this stuff as it comes out without parliamentary scrutiny. So the Parliament, because he's not an MP anymore, isn't going to be scrutinising what he says. So that's a political move. I've said to you before, Paul Marshall set up. He's a supporter of GBN. He's the biggest financer. Paul Marshall set up ARC, Absolute Return for Kids, which is a paedophile ring, patron Prince William, tied to the Dutra child murder aristocratic snuff ring. It's a serious paedophile ring, and I've been on its back for a long, long time. And that's Paul Marshall. Paul Marshall has a wife, Penny Marshall. They have a son and a daughter. Son, Winston Marshall, was part of the band. Oh shit, I forgot again. It might come to me. Good band they were. He's now influencing the young that are coming up into the same programme. The daughter works at the Telegraph, so these are big boys. But above that is a debalcony. We've looked at the debalconies bringing in two ideas of Allah and the Trojans. So it's a you know, there's there's red flags everywhere because you can't trace it so far. So you know that they're part of this elect system, and obviously it's just a right wing outlet, because of course now they're going to try and push you all into voting for a continuum of this right-wing entity that calls itself conservative. The same in the US. They're now trying to force everybody that the only option is to go with this right wing because they need the consent in order to launch this global third world war. Alright? That's what they need. So you can see now how they're undermining Labour. Starmer's doing that. He's a Crown agent, remember? You know what I mean? You'll all have one in your town somewhere, OBE, MBE, whatever they are, they're the Crown agent. We have two little urchins here, Miles Parkinson and a girl called Stacey Walsh. And yeah, let's just say I'm very fully aware of all the games they've played, especially through the elections earlier in this year. So I know how they play, but I know they're part of a bigger operation which were run by Sir Peter Blaker. They set up Owen Oyston way back in the day, and had it banged up because his estate bordered an estate that the Duke of Westminster nicked, which was the Earl of Derby's when he passed. Took it over, turned it into a bird shoot, and it's been that way ever since. And when it gets to the August the 12th, then the Trafford Baldwin is pretty much full of private security that call themselves SES. No, they're just private security, crap out bum fucks. But, you know, if you're riding around there, because that used to be our racetrack, the Trafford Baldwin of an evening, when we were all, you know, doing the old Fast and Furious kind of malarkey when we were youngsters. Now, if you're going to do it, you especially around August time, you're going to run into a lot of these private security boys. Who will give you a bit of an ass, but pretend that they're coppers. So, yeah, you've got to see it as it is, this covenant gig. They're all in this covenant that we've explored. So, Israel never existed on the map prior to the World Wars. No, it didn't. Not even up to 47. I have a map actually showing quite well that that's correct. So, I need to come up a little bit, I think. It's alright, okay, you're having a chit chat, so that's great. Space Orbiter says, those people are Unish pagan barbarians pretending to be God's chosen people. Well, I'm not so sure that they're the Huns. I mean, if you go way back, Space Orbiter, what you find is that, and you get the data from both the Chinese history and also the European, that there were one particular part, the Khazarian side, known as the Name Stealers. And there were historical records of it in China and also in Europe about when we were in this place. So I know it's easy to class them as Huns, but a big majority of the tribes around there were Scythian. And I've studied a lot of stuff that suggests that the Huns were actually Scythian. So I don't know, I wouldn't like to go and say that, but you can see clearly that the elite from Israel are getting ready to move into the Ukraine where they used to live, as well as shifting over into the west of Australia, because the elites have been leaving for a good 12 months, and Perth in Australia does seem to be where a huge amount of them have chosen to have base. But you can see we explored that a couple of years ago, that the landmass Ukraine that they're taking over through Russia is actually their ancient homeland, and you can see that they want it back because it's actually a beautiful part of the Mediterranean, you know, the Black Sea and all that. It's beautiful. You can understand Jason the Argonauts, all this kind of malarkey. You know, the Aegean, that's where all that was going on. It's just a beautiful place, and I can see quite clearly why they'd want to go back to that. You know, can you have a joint YouTube channel so channel admins can upload videos as a collective, boys? Those, well, can you have a joint YouTube channel so channel admins can upload videos as a collective? I'm not sure I get that. Israel created and funds Hamas, but who funds Israel? See, Israel is like Switzerland, like London. Israel's a nation with a lot of people in it. It's the government. It's the intelligence service. It's same here, same in your country, wherever you are. We've got to get out of this idea of blaming nations. It's not. It's the military occupation of nations showing itself in the incorporation of the domestic system. And as Mussolini declared when he was asked to define fascism, and he said it more correctly needs to be called corporatism. Yeah, because the corporations belong to the military-industrial complex. That's what it is. Which is why that's what happened in Germany. Same gig. You can see them playing the same gig. Again, they're trying to bait the English. And Tommy Robinson is the big player in that gig, to bait the English into doing silly things. Look, if Hamas and Mossad want to do battle, everybody as nations, because that's what they've set it up for with the immigration, let them. The police will deal with it. We don't have to deal with that. Look, if you're watching police like furry cakes. I saw what they did to minors in 80s. We know what the police can do when they're meaning. That's what I expect to be seeing right now everywhere that there's any kind of nonsense calling for jihad, calling for death, for murder, or any such nonsense. That's how I expect to see the police behaving, because that's a breach of the peace. So as a constable, that's your job. Okay? If you're operating policy, of course, because of course you're dealing with persons when you deal with these immigrants, they're protecting them because they're part of the same military. The police being the domestic military, So that's how it has to be. The police have to get active and deal with that kind of stuff, no matter who it's coming from, because that's England. That's how England works, and we won't accept that nonsense here. We're not having no-go areas or anything like that, are we? Because that's not England. So the police, you can see, are letting this, moving it that way. We have to stop that. Yeah, we have to stop that as English males militia. If it starts to get silly, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I've been saying for these years now, militia mind. Get your mind into the idea that England sanctions you to operate in a capacity that we call militia, in the upkeep and service of the law. Not government policy, which is military. We're talking about English law, all right, as a citizen. Okay, that's what we're good about this country, is our ancestors, even on person and all that malarkey, still gave you the ability to actually deal with situations without having to get violent about it. Only by sharing a login. Right, I'm missing something there, so I don't know what that conversation is about. 27 watching. There were 50 odd last week. That's most I've seen for a couple of years. So The Economist had a World War III magazine cover with paragliders on the cover. Yeah, not surprising. Just as Simpsons prophesied the boxing match that went on last night between Tyson, who, look, I mean, we have this from my son, because my son likes boxing. They say, look, Tyson is only the world champion because there's these shit boxers around at the minute. Right? They're all shit. Tyson wouldn't have stood 30 seconds with Mike Tyson, with Larry Holmes, yeah, with Lennox Lewis. He wouldn't have stood a chance against them boys, because they were proper boxers. He's got a window, and the window for me with Tyson Fury is because he pushes mental health. I haven't watched the fight. I believe it weren't a bad fight, so that's good. Kudos to him, because he grew up against a serious contender there. He's a UFC guy. But even that fight last night was prophesied by Simpsons. So it's part of the programme. Right. The Empires love playing this game, divide and conquer. Because it works. It works because you're all divided on the maps. You're all running around on maps that have been put there since you were a flea bag, and you haven't made any effort to cleanse it. So you are a believer, not a knower. And somebody suggested like blah 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 last week, something, but thinking's a process to knowing. Okay, so if there's a subject matter that you're using your thought processes to come to know, if you don't understand it, then what you do know is that you don't understand it. Be clear about it. Yeah, you don't want to be believing, you want to be knowing, and you either know that you know, or you know that you don't know, or you know that you've accumulated this amount of data, and you can present it and say, this is what I've collected, what do you think? But ultimately, you're not working on belief, you're working on you know. Either you don't know, and you don't know, or you know that you know. You get me? Thinking and belief is a process only to come into that conclusion. Right. How to justify the fraudulent pretexts? They are trying hard to... Yeah, of course they are. But it's working because people are thick. I mean, even... Come on, guys. You guys on here, you know. What have we seen in this last 3 years? We've seen an absolute outpouring of retard. I mean, I was shocked to the degree, to the amount of people who I've known forever where they really were as a reality, not the bullshit bollocks and crap that they pump out as a persona. The personas are being broken. No longer do the personas, the fake, the false that you've surrounded yourself with and pushed out for the public to see, they're not holding water anymore. It's coming right back down to reality, who you really are. And not necessarily who you've been, but who you are today. And that's what you've got to be looking at. Who are them around? Look for who they are right now. Not where they come from, where they've been. Where are they at now? Are they playing that game and triggered? Or are they seeing the game and, going, whoa. Because if you know things aren't right, you should never ever go for it, no matter what. Because them that did, look how they're seeing it now. You know what I mean? They're wishing they hadn't. I don't know anybody that didn't that wishes they had. Let me quite frank about that. And the fact that you haven't, you're no longer in the mix. It's not in your mind. It's not there for you. You can get on with your life. And the same, whatever is coming next, don't get sucked into it because it'll become your life. And you'll put yourself into a compartment. And then the system will deal with you accordingly. Fabian said, Jeremy Corbyn, yeah. Jeremy Corbyn, all he did, I watched him, all he ever did in Parliament were bringing United Nations over and above anything else. That's Jeremy Corbyn, he's a tosser. They're all tossers. Tony Benn, great guy, said a lot of good stuff, but he didn't go far enough, did he? Because he was a tosser. You know what I'm saying? The tossers, these people. The one man that did when he realised, and I never liked him until I saw that he'd seen the light, and then you could see the quality of the man, and that was Robin Cook. And also, there were a woman that I never liked either. Biggish girl, big gob, I can't remember her name. But she saw the light. And she followed the true path. I can't remember her name, but she was in Labour. And then, who were the other guy? There were quite a few that about turned and meant it. And Robin Cook being the position level of society he was, they had to get rid of him. But no, Tony Benn never went far enough. Because he were in the Covenant. They're all full of shit. None of them are on your side. At all. Ever. And they never have been. In truth. We live in the Roman Empire. We certainly do, Chris Steiger. We have been in the Roman Empire. But what is the Roman Empire? It's not the Roman Empire that we believe it was. Because it got took over by the Carthaginians. Before it fell. And when it fell, it got mopped up. Even if you look at Caesar, Caesar wasn't sanctioned by the Senate to go on his escapades in Gaul. It was an illegal setup, but he was being funded by the Carthaginians. Seneca was a Carthaginian. He was from Spain. Carthage, the Carthaginian side of Spain, I forget the exact place. Well, he was the guy that managed to get the Britons to annihilate the remaining legions here on Blighty to help them take over Rome itself through Boudicca. It was Seneca that called in the debt. Because it was Seneca that Boudicca's husband owed the debt to. Now that was a very interesting study when I studied that way back in the day. But yeah, you could see Carthaginians taking it over. And Caesar was probably one of the first that they got on side. So he was a Roman, but he obviously up his own arse, believed he was better than everybody else. As soon as he got the offer, the money, the backing, off he went, making his name for himself. But it was they were illegal campaigns, they were. They weren't sanctioned by Rome. But you are correct. What has been the Roman Empire is exactly what we're under today, right now. And we're being thrust around. But it's shifting. It's shifting into the Noahides, remember that, because this is what the Carthaginians represent. So it's not going to be the Roman Empire as we know it, it's going to be the Noahide system. And they're fast moving it all in now. So good point there, Chris. The Empire Strikes Back, crazy, it really is the Roman Empire, isn't it? Yes, absolutely. Weefy Man, Han Dynasty, Lee Bloodline, good call. Bill Ackerman and Qatar in Gaza. Yeah, I mean, a lot's gone on in China. I mean, you know, when Kissinger and Murdoch moved to China, what, were it in the 90s? You could see where the new headquarter base is, can't you? And that you know, their aim is to annihilate the West. And when I say the West, I'm talking about Europe, Middle East, North Africa, Africa, India, everything. Because the Indians are Indians, they're not Chinese people, they're completely different, you know? So when we say the East, I'm not talking about that far. The whole gig that's been running the show for such a long time, is their game is to destroy it and take us into a new age that they completely control, and there isn't anybody left. Tony Benn's autobiography mentions soldiers dressed as police on the picket lines. Yeah, absolutely. They've always done that. But a lot of these soldiers are not necessarily British soldiers. Private mercenaries. They've used mercenaries forever. All wars in ancient past. East Indians, it were the Hessian, the mercenaries that went in and did the culling. And then they bring our boys in to set up the administration system. So in all accounts, in historical accounts, we did it, but we didn't. The only time you can actually see that the British regiments actually did get stuck in, and I'm talking about before the First and Second World War, was against the Zulus. But all of the wars that you class as British Imperial Wars, the savagery and fighting were carried out by the mercenaries. And then, whether it were French, whether it were English, whether it were Portuguese, or Spanish, or Dutch, they'd use the Hessian and then pull in their own militaries to set up the administration. And then set up the secret society side in that back, and then feign independence once the secret society network had control of the levers of power in that country. So that's what they've been doing all the time. India didn't get independence, got an independence from the British government, but the secret society networks, which is the crown, as the corporate crown, or that were facing the military, not the real crown, was running the show, running the politics, and basically set up the governments just to administer the bankruptcy or administrations that were going to, they were getting the countries into. It all makes sense. There's no mystery when you start to look at the game properly. But first, you have to come out the map. Your own belief system that your map's made up of will prevent you or edit when you're reading something because it doesn't fit with the map. That is not an easy one to get past. But that's the only way you can actually start to see the game, Roam if you want to, roam around the world. Treen says, "Hi Chris, never went away." I'm seeing that now. They act like it went away. Yeah, it never went. They never do. I mean, when I was studying all these empires from Sumer, they don't go away. They just move. They shift somewhere else. The capital of it. Just like the capital of the East India Empire moved from Holland to London after the Civil War. Bank of England set up, so you had the naval centre and you had the financial centre at the inner city of London. When they took hold of America, they moved the military side of it to the colony America. Yeah, the mining in Africa, the mining in Australia. The intelligence hub was New Zealand. Yeah, and like here on the British Isles, Scotland's been running England. They like the North or another separate to be controlling each other, but to the populations, that's not what's going on. Like the Scottish think that the English should. It's fucking Scotland that's caused all these problems. She's Robert the fucking Bruce. Alright, maybe not since Robert the Bruce, but he facilitated it, but definitely since David I and the importation of huge swathes of European aristocracy through Belgium. That's what happened, and that's a long, long time ago. And so the power system was set up in Scotland because that's where they live, but the front system was set up in London or Westminster. Thorny Island. You know, we've got to look at swamps. Vatican's on a swamp. Westminster is on a swamp. I believe Washington DC were built on a swamp. What is it about swamps with these people? So you have two options. You can go down David Icke's thing, so because they're lizards and they need to be near water. Or you can be sensible and say, well, the land, who wants swampland? That were the perfect opportunities back in those days for them to set up their bases in land that had no claims against it. You with me? You're hidden. So that'd be my take on why they use swamps. But, of course, we don't know for sure. You met Robin Cook before they bumped him off, yeah. I mean, bear in mind, I never liked him when he was in power. I always thought he was an arrogant bastard. I nearly said that woman's name, because I never liked her either. But she ended up and turned out okay. And then there was that one Tory woman as well, the old girl. I can't remember her name either, but once she saw past it, she stuck to her guns. You don't get to see much of her these days. Kushner is keeping him right. That flicker is the omen. Well, a lot of people were saying that Kushner could be the the one they're pushing up, and that he's actually basically the middleman between. But then, what is the trumpet up to? You know, what is he up to? I don't know. I was listening to one interview with his son, and I have to say I was very impressed with him, his character, everything about him. There were no red flags in it whatsoever. And he interviewed Roseanne Barr, and that was really interesting because Roseanne Barr she impressed the living daylights out of me because she's not just dipped a toe into it. She's really considered it, and she can see what she needs to see, and she's moving with it, which is what a lot of people can't do. I agree, the roots of evil started in Scotland. Because they made it a power base, you know, that's it, that's why. English have the right to self-determination. Damn right we do. Tree in Scotland, huh? Oh, well, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat here in the USA. Doesn't look good over here anyway, really. Well, again, with you Americans, you must not fall now into the hands of this ultra-right-wing Zionist bunch. Otherwise, because, I mean, they're just going to go insane on war. You listen to Jordan Peterson, listen to that little shit, what's he called? I can't remember his name. Listen to Netanyahu. Have you heard what he's speaking this week? Oh, it's back to biblical. It's Amalek now. Blah, 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 blah. They're massacring people there. But it's a war. As I said, don't get engrossed. Don't give it your empathy because the two combatant sides. You know, the Palestinians teach the kids to throw stones at Jews from being kids. And the same in Israel. The power side of both sides. That's what they teach. That's why they come to blows. The English are right said, yep. We fear, man, when dystopia is implemented, that will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. 2 to 3 billion people on the naughty step at the same time. I don't think there's 2 or 3 billion of us left. I don't think people realise to what degree they've emptied the earth of people. You remember, they've been going on since Malthus. You've got the Optimum Population Trust. You all love David Attenborough. The guy's a psychotic maniac. He was the president of the Optimum Population Trust. The guy's a psycho. All these nature programs have been there to try and show you that it's the jungle, the law of the jungle, the survival of the fittest. The guy is a raging maniac. Seriously, honestly, you know, but you've been fooled. Superior. Thanks for that, Solvemist. That's exactly the guy I'm talking about. Got right to recognition of the person too. Weefy man, I hope so. Right, let's get some colour into the mix, and I've got some stuff together here today. So I thought we'd start off with this because this is a good maxim to work on. It's an old medieval kind of image, and it says, "The fools did not realise that they were merely recovering a portion of their own property, and that the ruler could not have given them what they were receiving without having first taken it from them." And that's by Etienne de la Botte, The Discourse on Voluntary Servitude, which is exactly correct. I mean, the stuff that I've just absorbed lately is just ridiculous. It's beyond. I don't want to start talking it because, but these are just so on the ball. These kind of images. It's unbelievable. But yeah, they first took your right into trust, blagged you, and took it away from you. And everything you receive as a benefit, you think, oh, that's nice, when really the whole game's yours, people, if you'd only know it, you know. So there you go. So, well, 7.9 billion. I looked into that a few years ago, and there were university studies from around the world who joined together, seeking out a figure. They couldn't even find half of 7 billion as a global population. Not even half. And that's probably about 8 years ago when I did that. So you think about it, 8 years ago, what's that, 2015-ish? No, it would have been before then, actually. It would have been before then. That's when I got, or knocked off my perch. No, it probably about 2013. And these universities has come together with the data, and between them they could not find half. So that they couldn't even find 3.5 billion as a global population. So it's a load of shit anyway, it's garbage, but they just want to get rid of everybody, yeah? Weefy man, Roseanne Barr sent Sean Ross financial help. She did, yeah. Yeah, I know she did. And I don't know what's happened to him, he doesn't seem to be putting anything up. And I wonder why he got homeless again. What happened there? Something must have happened. So I thought that's an interesting little gig there because, you know, it's not new, this idea of, it's been known all the time, it's just in the last 200 years they've got so good at it, at blagging the populations, it's quite ridiculous. So I thought we'd just have a look at some of this land sell and see how it's working. So basically they bought land at a massive cost off the shelf because this particular piece of land originally was owned by the Crown Estate. So did the government pay maximum price to the Crown Estate of 15 million and then the Crown Estate is buying it back at 6 million? That's what it looks potentially to me, because you look into this this company. I obviously set this up too fast again. My apologies. And so it's not clicking over. It's called Brockwell Group, Bexhill LLP. And it's an increase of almost 150%. And these are a bunch that have bought it. So if we just flick over to this is Brockwell Group, Bexhill LLP. Now, this might help you a little bit because this is how you can use Companies House, but it's quite simple once you get into it. You can, a few hours work on Companies House, if you're seeking something, you'll be surprised what you can find if you go through the files. You don't good files anymore, but they used to do excellent files. So this is Brockwell Group, Bexhill LLP, 7A Abbey Business Park, Monks Walk, Farnham, Surrey, United Kingdom, and it's active. And it's a limited liability partnership, so it's an LLP. Now, why are the accounts not coming up? Okay, so if we hit people, so these are the people involved in this company. 4 officers, 2 resignations. So one of the officers or persons is Brockwell Group Holdings Limited. Same address. And it's an LLP designated member, and it's a limited company. Now, the next one, still active, is Hoxton Spears Wharf LLP, and that's Welbeck Street, London. And again, it's a company, a person. And Isaacs Martin Charles has resigned, and Fair Cruise Limited has resigned. So then, if you just pull up Brockwell, it's got 1 appointment active. Okay. And it's Brockwell Group Bexhill LLP. Go through it again. Hit the people. And again. So they mix them up these. This Martin Charles Isaacs. Who's this fella? December 1956. Occupation Director, country residence England. Yeah? And it's dissolved. They play games with Companies House, and it's difficult to follow what they're actually doing, in truth. It can get rather difficult, but if you stick at it, you will find some very interesting stuff, and if you really stick at it, you will eventually find out who it is, or which corporation it is that's actually running it, because you've got to remember the MPs are now setting up corporations on Companies House, and they're using different variations of the name. Can you see what's happening with this this new system that they've got going? And then you've got one here, Clear Springs Ready Homes, again tied in to the one we've just looked at. And you've got here, sorry, no, this Clear Springs Ready Homes, my apologies, is tied in to the immigration. Graham King, first immigration industry billionaire, and he's housing all these immigrants. 1.3 billion he's had passed over to his company in the last 12 months, and he's made 500 million in 2021. Yeah, so you've got him selling off land HS2. Yeah, Crown Estate's involved, so probably bought it at top price for them. My guess is Isaacs is part of is a front for the Crown Estates who have bought it back. So if they bought it back for 6 million, they made 9 million and got it back. Now, that's capitalism, innit? Come on, but capitalising on the taxpayer. So this guy, he says the company's business is anticipate the business will continue for the foreseeable future and suggests the flow of cash is unlikely to dry up in the near future. So this is the Migrant King, 25 million a year from taxpayers' money. So that then takes us to this company, Clear Springs Ready Homes. Yeah. And you've got a bunch of people in here. So when you go into filing history on these gigs, I always go first, and I go for the incorporation. Because that's the first thing that's begun when they... I don't know whether you can see that. You probably can't see that properly because it's just huge. Yeah, you can. Well, sort of. So you go to yeah, you know, you can't really see it, but you go to the first one and then come up from that, because back in the early days, the files were like a proper filing. So you got to see who, what, where and everything, what business they were carrying out with who. And you got a full picture, and then you can see them moving and shifting as they move on, and get bigger and bigger. And you can follow it. You can see the game of what they're actually up to. So it's good to get really savvy with Companies House. It really is. Voluntary servitude, yeah. And these immigrants that are coming over now are on indentured servitude, so they're contracted for when they get that text message, get out and cause trouble, where you go out and rob that shop, go and order. Yeah, that's Black Lives Matter. All these fringe colour revolution groups affiliated with George Soros. Solving says Greywater Cycling. Hydroloop says me. Yeah, I do remember Hydroloop. But it ended basically because the guy who tried to tell me that it was set up for something good, he never got back to me and actually continued the conversation. David Dolby says Bexhill is the immigrant concentration camp in the film Children of Man. I haven't watched that film, unfortunately. It's all about depopulation. The thing is, the estimates are incorrect. Well, they're doing it, man. They've been on it now. And if people can't see with that first horse where it's coming from, the machine itself, you know, so like the second horse that's coming in, now you can clearly see that multiculturalism has never been this move to try and get lovely and nice. It's been purely about putting completely opposing cultures in each other's mix. and then fire starting it off, as they have done here, to ferment and activate the passions and the prejudices. Indentured servitude, it's not quite slavery, it's servitude, serfdom. Yeah? So no, slavery is when you can't actually contract. That you have no ability to contract. So whoever it is that's running you, or you're working for, you really have no claims of any rights, of anything whatsoever. You're at the mercy of the character of the one who's holding you in slavery. Yeah, Kalergi plan, absolutely, Jackie. 1922, that was set up. Plain and simple, what they want. We've gone through that on here. They want it to go back like it was in Egypt. The elites and just a lot of funny coloured people who are thick as pig shit and do exactly what they're told because they submit to exactly what it is the elites want them to submit to. So yeah, quite right there, Jackie, and welcome. Right, what else have we got here? So this is rather worrying because we know that I've seen a lot of stuff to suggest that Australia is being test cased for some rather dubious nonsense in the next session because, of course, it's so isolated, and it would appear that it's going to be ordained by the powers in New Zealand because, of course, it's become a colony of New Zealand as Australia, apart from, of course, the Northern Territory, which, of course, is still under the Crown territory. So all the changes that have been set against the statutes in Australia have not been done so in the Northern Territory because it's not under this new gig. So what they're doing at the moment is Microsoft is saying is going to set up a cyber shield to protect Australians, to fend off global online threats under a plan to sink billions of dollars into securing and expanding the national digital economy. And Microsoft to help Australia build cyber shield, Anthony Albanese announces in Washington. Well, Microsoft is 100% now an Israeli company. It's moved to Israel. It's no longer an American company. So there you can see where Bill Gates were all about. And this is Brad Ryan in Washington, D.C., and this was posted maybe Wednesday. Microsoft says the project's part of its biggest investment in Australia in its 40-year history. A $5 billion plan to expand infrastructure and skills with focus on cloud technology and artificial intelligence. The company will work with the Australian Signals Directorate, the national agency responsible for cyber security and online warfare, to build the cyber shield dubbed Microsoft Australian Signals Directorate Cyber Shield. Asked about the plan being aimed at countering the threat of China, Mr. Albanese said it was aimed at strengthening Australia. He said it was one of the first steps in the Australian cybersecurity strategy, announced last year. In last year's Optus, and Microsoft will also build 9 new data centre sites to add to the existing 20 in Sydney, Canberra and Melbourne, as it prepares for demand for cloud services to almost double by 2026. The company also so that's if you keep using all this digital shit, you know, your apps and all this crap that they've got going. So your Uber Eats, all these are tied into this new cloud system that they're going to need. The company has also promised a new data centre academy with TAF NS New South Wales to train 200 people in 2 years and to support other programmes to deliver digital skills training and 300,000 Australians. Now, for me, what that stinks of is they're going to put a shield around Australia so that it cannot get news from outside Australia. Yeah, a bit like China doesn't get news from outside here unless you've got Chinese people that know my URL and then they'll come on the site. And occasionally on my website somebody's done that in China and all of a sudden there's tons of people from China on the website, but it's blocked. The URLs don't come through in the search engines, etc, etc. And I think that's the way they're going to censor everything, is to put a sort of filter around nations so that you're not getting anything from outside that's not been ordained. So unless you've got the direct URL, but then again they might even be able to block you from there. And that I think is what they're doing and setting off in Australia, and that were announced this week. What about Charles proroguing Parliament the other day? What do you think? What did he do? I am not. I am. Oh, have I missed something? What did he prorog it for? Is that for what? You need to tell me there, Train. I'm not seeing that. David Dobbs says, Sean, did you know the king is... No, I didn't. I didn't, no. So, fill me in, guys. Andrea says, sorry, that was for untitled. This must be in the last year, as I said. Okay. Alright, so I've catched up. Andrea Hodgson, for me, it shows to move into the 4th gig and destroy the old. Right, so that's what I think's going on with the old Australians now. So let's what's going on? What's the media? What's the crown, the political crown, trying to set up here? Well, it's baiting. It's baiting the Scottish and it's baiting the English, as they did in Germany by having the Jews start thrusting it in the face of the Germans that they were buying up everything in Germany. They baited the Germans, and once the Germans kicked off, then everything closes down under military. Same tactic. So they're baiting the English and the Scottish. Well, all we need to consider is this. The police's job to sort that out, not ours, okay? We'll look after our own, in our own place. Let's look at it that way. See it in those terms, as militia. Because England sanctions it, alright? I'm not so sure about Scotland, but I'm pretty sure it does. That's what we've got to think about. If the foreigners want to do battle on their own little thing, don't get involved. Let the state do it with it. And if the state doesn't deal with it, we demand it does before it spreads to the natives, as it were. Okay, so that's the way we need to treat this. But look at what they're doing up there in Aggie Squeezer land. So we've got this tit. So all week, for the last 2 weeks, all he's done is cry about, oh, First Minister Humza Yousaf said he has not heard from his family in Gaza and spoken of his concern for all the innocent people suffering for a crime they didn't commit. Now he's really concerned, but he's still sat on his fucking ass in Scotland and he's not gone over there, which is exactly what you do, wouldn't you? If you had that kind of power and diplomatic immunity, you'd make sure your family gone out. So he's talking out of his ass, he's a propagandist, he's being told what to say. What did he say? Let's have a look.
Clark, White, every High Court...
Let's start that from the beginning. Are we on that? No, we're not. We need to go here. What's he saying? This is on Scottish soil. Okay? I mean, I couldn't believe I were hearing this, to be quite frank.
The Lord Justice Clark, White, every High Court Judge, White, the Lord Advocate, White, the Solicitor General, White, the Chief Constable, White, every Deputy Chief Constable, White, every Assistant Chief Constable, White, the Head of the Law Society, White, the Head of the Faculty of Advocates, White, every Prison Governor, White. And not just Justice, the Chief Medical Officer, White, the Chief Nursing Officer, White, the Chief Veterinary Officer, White, the Chief Social Work Advisor, White. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
Now, nobody can tell me that that's for anything other than exciting the natives. That is outrageous that you can say that and not get locked up. That's the most racist speech I've heard in this whole furore, apart from some of the crap coming out of the old Levant. But to hear that in a Scottish Parliament by a foreigner who's clearly a racist pig, but then of course he's pulling out these old white, then obviously all these white honkies are not doing anything, so maybe he has a point of pointing out the fact that they're all white and they're thick and stupid because they're letting him do that. Maybe that's a worthy bit of kit there, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, why can he say that? Why can Ben Shapiro talk his talk? Why can Jordan Peterson talk his talk? Why can Alex Jones talk street talk? Yeah, if you do it, yeah, that's because they're puppets, they're players. He's an arsehole, him. A proper arsehole. That guy needs putting in prison for treason. I don't know how the Roman Scottish law is up there like, you know. No foreigner in England should be in power, says our Bill of Rights. Precisely. And being foreign doesn't necessarily just mean foreign as in blood, because most of the bloodlines are foreign. It's meaning foreign cultural ideology. So you are absolutely right there, June. Yeah. So what a mockery this military incursion has turned our nations into, asunder, really. So that's that penis. Complete and utter lunatic. Really not impressed with him. Erdogan. Hey West, I ask you, do you want to reignite the war between the crescent and the cross? Yeah, so it's there. It's all about the crescent and the cross, when really it's not, is it? And then you have House in Order, the new speaker, a complete right-wing uber umpty. Jesus Christ, says about his life and belief in Jesus in exclusive interview. Go pick up the Bible off your which Bible? Oh, we're talking about the one Fat Fingers is just right up to. And here we go, the Blonde Bombshell. October 7th massacre, among the most depraved events in the history of human cruelty. So it's incredible that so many in Britain seem to have lost moral clarity, says the man who organised the lockdowns and the bug shot. And I support Zionism without qualification, says the squarehead. It's like Frankenstein, isn't it? Ed just needs a bolt through it. Oh, there we go. They're madly in love still, and maybe they were just about to start tongue wrestling, because they've definitely banged each other stupid, haven't they? You can see it in their eyeballs, lips, everything's just, kiss me hardy. It's there. And there we have George. What's the Bible verse for? I killed 1 million Iraqis and got away with it because Jenna Bush Hager reveals that her dad, George W., texts her a Bible verse every morning. I wonder which Bible verse he did have that said to him, George, go and kill everybody in Iraq. And then we go back to Erdogan. Do we want to reignite the war between the crescent and the cross? Well, actually, it's not about the crescent and the cross. It's about the crescent and the star. See, can you see how they're shifting it onto you numpty fuckwits that call yourself Christians that are nothing of the sort? And there's the new speaker, Trump's best mate, uber Zionist. Very worrying that this right-wing insanity is creeping in. So he's calling flag-waving Palestinians losers, his old Boris, the blonde bombshell, as he joins GB News. Just let me check. What have I got in there? So we've done Aggie Squeezer. Now, so that's that fella. So now then, people are wanting to know, aren't they still, who is Russell Brand? Well, he's pretty much shown you who he is now. You can't really argue with this. He's showing you exactly where he is.
Because you care about free. You're watching this on X. Presumably you're watching this on X because you care about free speech. Well, let me tell you who else cares about free speech. Jordan Peterson. We've got a 2-hour conversation with Jordan Peterson as you've never seen him before. Because, you know, he's transmogrified into a glorious beast. No, this is Jordan Peterson being honest, explosive, incandescent and incendiary on subjects like God. Are we in the middle of a living symbol? Is there something symbolic and powerful happening right before our eyes? Are these indeed the end times? And what made Jordan Peterson do this? Join us right now. This content is available for those of you that support free speech.
He did it because director said, Q, cry your eyeballs out, Jordan. And he did. He cried his eyes out. So there you can see who he's supporting. And if you've seen some of the rhetoric going out of Jordan Peterson of late, you know what I'm saying? No, God is it, really. Let's be fair. He's shown himself. There he is. Plain and simple. But look how many young ones, how many young fruit bats he's got on side because they love him and think he's amazing and fantastic. And he's a sexual deviant. And of course, most of the youngsters today have been taught to be sexual deviants. Not that they know it, but they just think that that's like circumcising Willie's consistently has the bell end rubbing against the pants. They're constantly thinking about sex. That's what I studied in the past about that. Me says, Sean, can't really respond if not so, but basically chuckles as closed Parliament. What? For what? What's he done it for? Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that, definitely. In fact, you're saying that now, and I did see a little headline about it, but I didn't think it was relevant to today. I thought it was a past tense thing. Okay. What are they up to? You see, if they've closed Parliament, then, and this Who bunch, they're going to call down another one, and they've handed over power to these bunches of numpties. Can you see how now that we're awake, we really don't want to be complying to this in any way, shape or form. Otherwise we could be in a bit of trouble. I'm sure I will have to look at that this week, chaps, and we'll crack right on it. Sick of the same old internet personalities trying to direct our thoughts. Well, yeah, exactly, because they're the shills. They're the ones that have got the 25 billion followers. They're the ones that are not shadow bans that are spread everywhere. Whereas I can't get past 56 viewers. And even though I get subscribers all the time, they never seem to show. Although we've had a little spurge, but I've had over 40 subscribers in the last couple of weeks, and there's nowhere near that amount. Probably only about 12 showing. So definitely shadow banning. This we know as Prorogue Parliament on Thursday. It's online. Just checked. Okay, what does it say? What's the headline on it? What they're saying he's done it for? That might give us a bit of an insight. Now then, so we've done war. What else did I want to look at? Now, this is again, because this guy keeps showing his face, he keeps getting thrust up again, or his missus, they're trying to pull him back in the mix. You know, okay, so this is the reminder of who these people are.
I want to start by thanking Harvey Weinstein for organizing this amazing day. Harvey. This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being, a good friend, and just a powerhouse. And the fact that he and his team took the time to make this happen for all of you should say something not about me or about this place, but about you. All right, everybody, we are here because of you. I want to start by thanking Harvey Weinstein for organizing this.
You know, let's not forget who these people are. These talking heads. Because that's all they are. Talking heads. It's... You know, it is really worrying that people suck into it. You know, celebs. Like this guy that's just died from Friends. Everybody's like, oh, he's only an actor for God's sake. And apparently after all that ended, his ego was so deflated, he never come back round to any kind of normality. He was a pisshead. Why are people celebrating it? And Friends itself, the whole show were about turning you all aloof to reality. Oh, it's nothing to do with me. That kind of gig, you know? Gwyneth Paltrow, she's having an outing this week, I've noticed, with Arse Out. Yeah? What's she been doing for old Ivy back in the day? And there, look at that Procura girl there. Come on, Ivy, I've got you another one. Obviously, Bill's his best mate. You know, always looking for a bit of action. He's old Bill. And there you have Yuri Milner, Breakthrough Prize co-founder, NASA Ames Research Centre. Yeah, just to remind you that that's who we're dealing with these folks. You know, that is who they are. So this is a very interesting piece. It's I picked it up last week but forgot to actually play it. Now this is exactly what we need to be done.
members of the board, my name is Craig Schubert. I'm the mayor of this city. It has come to my attention that your educators are distributing essentially what is child pornography in the classroom. I've spoken to a judge this evening. She's already confirmed that. So I'm going to give you a simple choice. Either choose to resign from this Board of Education, or you will be charged. Thank you.
Is that what we need? That's a man. And obviously there's people in there that support it. Until that starts kicking off over here, your children are getting abused every time they enter those school buildings. Their minds are being abused, they're being sexualised. You know, up until, what, 15 years ago, it was called grooming to sexualise a flea bag. Grooming. And now that's, oh, it's okay if school's doing it, but focus on those Muslims over there. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm not saying it doesn't go on. But I stopped it, these teams of grooming numpties from kicking off in Aki, setting up before COVID. Because I know what they are. They're like a little fascist Nazi group. And then they start getting power and start influencing everybody. And the executive had given them a line in as a power. But I just blew it out of the water. We don't have a grooming problem in Ironburn. And we never have, to be quite honest. But they all of a sudden from Rochdale indicate, we must do this, we must do that. I don't think so, chaps. And I made sure that that didn't come to pass. What else have we got? We've put up there. So now this is worrying. Okay, because this has been going on all week and nobody can get FOIs as to who it is that's attending and potentially handing over our sovereignty to this fruitcake.
Adopted a political declaration on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response, underscoring their commitment to meet shared threats with a shared response. The COVID-19 pandemic upended lives and livelihoods, disrupting societies and economies, and exposed and exacerbated political fault lines within and between nations. It eroded trust between people, governments and institutions, fueled by a torrent of mis and disinformation. And it laid bare the searing inequalities of our world, with the poorest and most vulnerable communities the hardest hit. The next pandemic is not a question of if, but of when. And we cannot afford to repeat the same mistake of the past. That's why WHO's member states are negotiating a new pandemic accord and amendments to the international health regulations to strengthen the legal framework for the global response to pandemics. And we can't stop there. We must follow through with national ratification and accountable implementation. For the sake of future generations, we must not go back to the old cycle of panic and neglect that left our world vulnerable. We are stronger together.
Have you ever seen such bullshit in your life? Peddled. They want full control and power over pandemics, and that they call them. That you're going to be in some serious trouble if our numpties have handed our systems over to them. Look at that. His son is not involved in this this all-in war. Now that's interesting. Inauguration. There's C-SPAN and then the real, and there's people missing. So there's obviously some very strange gone on in his inauguration. Yeah, there's people not there, and it's C-SPAN that you all got, and then the real. And then you've got Klaus Schwab's understudy. The era of free will is over. The WEF strikes again. They're not gone anywhere. Not disappeared at all. But his son there, all of a sudden, oh, he's not involved in all this action. No, he's in Miami. You see, they're good at calling down war, these fruitcakes, as long as it's not their kid. Like that little shit Shapiro. Are his kids signing up? Are they at boot camp now? Ready? No. It's your kids. Your golem Gentile fleabags that have got to play this game out. Got nothing to do with them guys. They stand above all this. We're above it, you know. And then you go, look. So you can see, even Iran, World Economic Forum, John Kerry, World Economic Forum, Mr. You almost do everything. And let's not forget who announced the reset in 2020. There he is in all his glory as the Prince of Wales then. That's Iran. Chatham House. RIIA. Tavistock. That's what that is. Larry Fink. Yeah? Not Iowa white people. Xi Jinping. China Reform Friendship Medal. And Leonardo DiCaprio flies 8,000 miles in a jet to accept a Green Award. And his foundation give 15 million to Swab. There's regional national leaders sound the same, that all graduates of Swab's indoctrination camp for young globalist leaders. And there you have the old Pope giving it, Klaus is more important than Jesus. It's, and wherefore orders governments to make viewing alternative media a criminal offence. And there you've got that shitbag Will.i.am. And DiCaprio again. And there you have the one who wants to depopulate the planet. They will soon replace billions of useless humans. And there we have the force horses to show you the evil has got power. Remember, don't let them twist the horses around to what they're not. The horses are the great opportunities of revelation. Yeah? And that's when the reset were announced. So, what do you reckon? Bedlam in La La Land. Am I correct? Oh, well. Let's have a look what you were saying. 47 in chat. There were 56 when I come off last week. And then they've moved it down, even in my stats. So they must do that so that it doesn't stay in the system, and then it doesn't move up. It's the only thing I can guess of. So they're arseholes, whoever they are. Stand for Truth, interesting though. So somebody was saying that they'd emailed me yesterday. I haven't received an email. I'll have to check spam there. To see if I haven't told. Well, apparently yes, he has. He's from the Plantagenets. So that's before the Stuarts, you know. The ones that the Stanleys or Pallavicini removed to put Henry VII on. But let's not kid ourselves that the Plantagenets or Angevins weren't anything other than psychotic maniacs. Although the Edwards seem to be a bit more, a bit more as you'd expect a king, let's say. And Edward III, of course, gives us all the chivalry and all the stuff. So I haven't received an email there, Andrea. I'll have to check, and so because I get a lot of spamming. Jackie K says, I'm just reading. School, no place for children. It's awesome and so accurate. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been aware of what's going on in the schools. Before they started it, we were at it, telling everybody. I mean, Oxley's wife, Laura Oxley, had a gig called Project Caressing, where they brought old people in to age 4 and 5 at kinder to hug them, sit on the knee, and it was like, what? Then the BBC did a session on, and I think this were aimed at between 6 to 8, fingering. I mean, and this is going back 15 years. BBC, that, in the internet platforms, in the schools. One particular platform we pulled out back then was Moodle. And going through that, what was pretty much obvious is that the kids had access through a computer to their account, and they had mentors in these accounts. And even the teacher didn't know who these mentors were. They had a big play on how the parents were involved, but they weren't. And what we looked at and found is paedophile rings. Grooming. And that were 15 years ago, people. You know what I'm saying? Did anybody give a shit? No. Let's have a look. So yeah, we'll call you and Ivan tomorrow about it and see if we can do something. Oh, Stanford True. Oh, how you doing, Flossie? You alright, Cocker? You didn't twig then who you were. Yeah, as far as I know, if I'm right, I think Ivan pulls in the Plantagenet line. Give us a call tomorrow, Chuck. Yeah, I haven't spoken to you for a while. I know we were a bit off last time, but I'm having a bit of a bad day, so my apologies. Not heard of the Committee 300 then, says me. Oh, I've heard about him. Now then, let's see, what else have we got here? So, how do you find these, going through videos and stuff like that? Do you find it a bit more intriguing than me waffling on about all sorts of nonsense? Do you like it, is what I'm asking. Because if you do, I'm starting to learn a bit more about how to use this gig. Which is good. Now, what else have I got here? Let's have a look. Oh, yeah. So just to add again to this, because nobody's paying any attention to what WF is doing, what they're doing. It's all about the Bedlam in La La Land.
To integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. When I mention our names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So
penetrate.
Yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I would know that half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the president, with a young global leader, but...
Question and commentaire, questions and comment.
Not good. Now, this is interesting.
Across the world, trust each other more and more.
Hang on.
So we can come together.
Sorry, I didn't start.
The good news is the elite across the world trust each other more and more. So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together. The bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less. So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
Where do they want to go? They want rid of a lot of you. Why would you follow it then? You know?
The fourth industrial revolution.
Let's have a look here. What's he saying?
Who will really command the fourth industrial revolution and its technology like artificial intelligence?
What's your sense of who's best placed at this time to lead the world into the fourth industrial revolution? Because you pretty much created this term. We're seeing the kind of technological strides that China has made with Huawei, with the 5G technology. Do you believe that this could potentially be China's time once again?
We should make here again let's say a differentiation. On the one hand, we have state capitalism. On the other hand, we have shareholder or private capitalism. So it's a clash between two systems. I believe that state capitalism in the short term provides certain advantages, because you can mobilize in a concentrated way a lot of resources to reach a specific objective. But I believe that the future is not state capitalism or shareholder capitalism. The future is what I call stakeholder capitalism, which is combined with the social responsibility.
So that's your corporatism. Every town you've got, everywhere has a stakeholder committee. And this is Mr. Skull and Bones, chapter 322.
Contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world, depending a little bit on how you count it, but it's anywhere from 26 to 33. And we can't get to net zero. We don't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution. But with a growing population on the planet, we just crossed the threshold of 8 billion fellow citizens around the world.
Evidence that claim, pal.
Emissions from the food system alone are projected to cause another 0.5 degree of warming by mid-century on the current course that we are today. A 2-degree future could result in an additional 600 million people not getting enough to eat. And you just can't continue to both warm the planet while also expecting to feed it.
So let's stop farming. I mean, that's the logic.
Reduce emissions from the food system to keep the 1.5 degrees alive. Why do we have to keep 1.5 degrees alive? Because scientists, as a basis of physics...
Is that Epstein scientists?
...and mathematics, not ideology or politics or party labels or anything else, as a matter of physics and mathematics and some biology and chemistry have told us these are the consequences.
Oh my God.
And we already see it happening. And almost everything
I believe you, John. I believe you.
For 30 plus years now.
I believe you.
Is coming true, but the problem is it's coming through faster and bigger than was in fact predicted.
Oh dear, Rick. I believe you, John, but what about your Skull and Bones like? What about that malarkey? What do you have to say about that? Well, not a lot, apparently. He doesn't really want to say a lot about it, in truth. What else have we got here? Oh my God, this is a bit worrying as well. A bit worrying again.
Literally delayed their agenda because I think it's so important to them. They've been very careful about the timing, and they've, let's wait a little longer, let's wait a little longer. Let's have this crisis first, or let's have COVID first, soften them up. But they've delayed because the technology was already ready around 2015 to roll out. And what people don't mention is, what do these CBDCs actually look like? At the moment, there's a bit of talk about this being phone-based apps. And yes, that is the initial phase. But what was already ready around 2015 is the ultimate goal, what they really want. Apparently, I was told by a central banker, is, CBDCs looks like a small grain of rice that they want to put under your skin, which is, in my view, a violation of human dignity. And they realize there is a hurdle. So to get people to accept this, there will be, why suddenly are all the billionaires saying, let's have universal basic income? Because the story is going to be, now we've created this vast unemployment and disruption and crises. Well, we need universal basic income. You will get 2,000 euros into your account every month. But of course, to run this efficiently, we need to use the latest technology. So, you need the CBDC chip implant. But how many people will say, okay, fine, £2,000, 2,000 euros,
a surprising proportion.
So there's your microchip. Ooh! I mean, 10 years ago they were offering it to kids in nightclubs in Spain. This woman believes what she's saying, but of course she's not included herself in. Remember that these fuckers are not including themselves.
We cannot hide away from human population growth because it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago. We cannot hide away from.
We cannot hide away, but she's not going to offer herself up for the cult, is she? Or her flea bags all either. Well, oh, we do have a few other little things. What did I have? I've done that one. Have you heard of this one? C. Hoare & Co. And there is a declaration or acceptance of the office of a councillor. What are they declaring? I declare that I will take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. So basically, she's taking it up and doing what she wants. C. Hoare & Co. The bank way older than the Rothschilds. I think it were 1200 and something when it kicked off. Ever heard of that one? The British banking dynasty. But look at the state of this. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct as expected of members of the, and then nothing. And that's what they're oath into. What's that oath mean? It's meaningless. Meaningless, ladies and gentlemen. I tell thee. Meaningless, I tell thee. I don't know. What an absolute mess. 3 angels who fell from heaven too. Well, we did an interesting one the other week. The Gnostic perception of that story. Chris, if you want to have a look, I think it may be a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure. Guitar Girl says, really green. That's dreadful. Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, what can I say apart from thank you very much for joining. I hope that made sense. I hope it entertained. I hope it kept you occupied, and we didn't bore anybody to death, because sometimes I know that it does. Sometimes we get a little bit complex here, and it's not for everybody. And so I thought we'd just do a few, just a bit of a chill, a bit easier on the old listening and easier on the old brain as we settle into the winter. So thanks for joining. Thanks for taking part, and I will say, as always, have a great week, and hope you can join me next time. Till the next time.
electronic